Are there anything that's like kind of like is a cool thing about like the human existence that kind of like, you know, adds a little spice to life, whether it's, you know, something you see out there in the world?
Mhm. Like I've seen some people with some really, really like well constructed shelters. Like I know somebody who had like they had like Christmas lights throughout their entire thing. They had power. They had
Wow.
they didn't quite have running water. Oh, you know what? I can give a shout out to one other person. Daniel McLennan. He's on Instagram. He's an artist and an engineer. The dude's amazing. I met.
All right, Drink Tokens podcast, episode 15. We're real honored here. It's great timing. We got San Jose Batman here. Took some time away to join us briefly. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey everybody. I'm Batman. I've been for the past like a little over 2 years. I've been in coming down to downtown San Jose and distributing like food, water, clothing, and any other like essentials that people on the street may need. And just trying to draw like attention to the crisis that our city is facing, and try to bring
Mhm.
try to show people that we need to start treating people with more humanity. Really is the big point of what I'm trying to do.
I like that. That's yeah, that's a good intro. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it, you know, the cool thing is that you know, you're out there, you're taking it like super personally from what I can tell in terms of some of the other media that you've done, whether it's, you know, just on your own personal clips or interviews you've done. Like this isn't something that's like fly by night. You're definitely involved. You've, you know, created a personality around it. And I think a big thing you've said is that you know, you're really not trying to call attention to yourself. And that's kind of the persona. Could you kind of explain that a
Yeah.
little bit about the departure from, you know, a lot of things we see sometimes are people that are take a little bit of credit for things, and for you it's kind of like the reverse. You're trying to really build like the social part of it and make sure that people can jump on board the great things that you're doing. So I hope
Yeah,
that
like the big thing for me was it's not about me. The whole point is that like I kind of consider like the whole Batman aesthetic as like your advertisement for wanting to help people. It's really to kind of catch people's attention and really just get them to look at you know the world around them and like look at themselves and say, hey, look, I have money, I have time. Clearly there's something wrong and with like how things are working at the moment, maybe I can invest some of my time into doing that. Like, I want people to be able to look at me, I guess, and like not have a face behind it, like not have a name
Mm,
behind it, but just be able to see that like anybody can, can and should help. Like, it's not hard.
yeah.
Like, for like reference, like, gonna be a comic book nerd real quick here, but like I think in one like recent Batman comic book, like Batman and Alfred are having a conversation, and like Alfred's like, like Batman's not like a real person, like, to the character of Bruce Wayne, who is Batman. Like, Batman is like this like idea that, you can become this impossible person who can do everything and, help everyone. And, reality, that may not be the case, but it's an idea that needs to exist, because, if we don't even try to do anything, then nothing gets fixed. So I'm
Yeah.
really trying to, invoke the idea of like having people become, do something that's greater than themselves, and, decide, hey, I want to actually change some things, and show that like the individual, if, they put their mind to it, can make a big change.
Yeah. That's powerful. Yeah. Even one person can make a change, as a collective. You get one person, more and more feet into it, then yeah, there can be some change.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
And
think
the more people, like when you get those people organized and you get a group together, like then it's even more change.
right. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And I like it too, because it's like it's you hear on a lot of again, kind of referencing media or social media or podcasts or whatever, but there's a lot of people that either have ideas about what the issue is and how to solve it, or they're quick to point out things that are wrong that other people are doing. But at the end of the day, it's really just what can you do to be a
Yeah.
part of the helping. And the helping could be as vanilla is, but as long as you're helping, then you're not necessarily just pointing fingers and trying to dissect a math problem, when really it's just getting out there. And like I saw something where you were saying like the boots on the ground thing, like that's really what, the end of the day, that's the goal of it, is to get more people out there doing things.
Yeah.
Um so with that, are there so motivating people is one thing, but then obviously there's other organizations that you may work with. What are some other organizations that you could kind of give a shout out to, that are really out there, whether it's San Jose or whether national, or that about, that people can look up and get into?
Mhm. So yeah, there are plenty of organizations, and like I constantly reference them on my page as well,
Okay.
which I'm sure you guys will be like linking somewhere, I'd imagine. I don't know how this thing works, but
We're all
I
about
think that's
links.
kind of like a thing,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like you cite your sources and stuff like that. But like
Yeah.
I'll also name a few as well. Like I know that like when I was in like middle school and like even in high school, like I would do like community service like before I did the Batman thing,
Hmm.
and like I know like Sacred Heart Community Service is a great one if like you're just getting started and you just want to dip your toes into helping people. That's a great way of doing it. I know like Second Harvest is really good too for that.
Oh yeah.
But like if you really, really, really are like certain that you want to do this, and like you know you're like all in, some great organizations that I know could really use some extra help right now. Feed the Block SJ, they are
Mm,
fantastic. They do like breakfasts and like basically cooked warm meals for people, and then they distribute them directly to locations where people may live. The same is true with Solution. That's like solution, but with soul as part of it. I'll like send you guys some resources if you guys want to link those as well.
Cool.
Um, though they're great as well. Food Not Bombs is another good one in San Jose. And like if you like look on like Facebook, for instance, like I know like a lot of people like may not use Facebook, or like that's not their thing. Like it definitely wasn't mine, but like I got pretty used to it, considering that's how a lot of community organizations, like some of them are organized. You can find like any in your hometown. Like I'm sure there's more than one. Like if you just search like community service, you'll probably find some stuff.
Yeah.
But like those are like the ones that I work with like the most consistently, and they are by far some of like the hardest working, legitimately driven people I have ever met. To be honest, they do such a great job, and they need all the love and help and support that they can get, because like
Mm.
you know it's it can be a struggle, and
Yeah.
we need as many people on the boots on the ground, uh, as you've mentioned, that
Yeah.
I've mentioned, um,
Yeah.
to really get this going.
So you're, a lot of people I'm sure ask you how you got started, or why did you do this? And there's, I'm sure, questions like that have come at you all the time. But you just mentioned a big word, drive and driven. So we'll just ask you this: what does motivate you, or what does drive you every day to put on the outfit, to put on your armor and get out there? What drives you?
So this is a question that I think about quite often. Um, I guess I could give you like two different reasons.
Mhm.
The first one's a little bit more drawn out, and the second one's a little bit more to the point. So the reason why I actually got started, or what actually really prompted this to me, um, was basically I was driving home from school, like tail end of my junior year of high school, and I passed by this woman had the hood of her car up, so I had jumper cables in my car, so I pulled in the parking lot and like tried to help. But my car battery, the current car that I'm sitting in right now, the battery's kind of shit. So
Yeah.
I probably should have asked about language warnings and stuff like that. But
No, you're
No,
good.
it's
You're good.
unfiltered. Go for it. Go for it.
all right, cool. So yeah, like basically, I wasn't able to jumpstart her car, but conveniently we were like within the parking lot of like an auto repair shop. I think it was like a Big O Tires or something like that. And basically, I had went in there and I'm like, "Hey, can you help this person out? Like their car is not starting. I think it's a battery, because they usually have those like those self-starting like jumper cable batteries.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
They usually have those. So I went in there. I'm like, "Hey, can you help out?" And they're like, "Is she living out of her car?" And I'm like, I
What does
looked at
that
the admin.
matter?
Yeah.
What does
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
matter? Like, why does that matter? And the first thing that I was told was that it was against company policy to do stuff like that, to help
Wow.
out. I'm like, why?
Right.
So
That's interesting.
that really struck a chord with me. I did eventually, get him to help after pestering him for probably about like 3 hours. I just came in like every 30 minutes and was like, "Hey, can you?" I basically asked the
Oh
same
my
question in the same
God.
voice, like
Yeah.
repeatedly. I tried to be as
Persistence.
nice
Yeah.
as possible, but give him the most shit-eating grin as possible, because
Right,
like
right.
we you can't just not help. Like they need help.
Yeah.
And it turns out that the woman was living out of her car. So she was trying to go get to some family so she could like see her son. And I'm not going to name names and stuff like that, just to be discreet with that. But like she needed something so simple, but like simply because she was living out of her car,
Mm.
the that auto repair shop decided that she wasn't worth their time.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a narrative, like
Yeah.
corporate America has
Yeah.
rules to prevent like, people in need from getting some basic
I know.
assistance. Yeah.
Maybe they felt like she just wasn't financially capable of paying for the jump start or something like that.
Yeah,
Or
maybe.
Oh,
liability. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
it could be a lot of, but who cares, right? Like
Yeah,
just
like
come out
I
there.
literally was
Yeah.
like, "Hey, like I'll pay for it too," and like they're still like, "No, sorry." But then eventually he did jumpstart it. It took like 30 seconds. She was so grateful, and
Mm.
like some that really that really struck home with me. Like
Yeah.
just something so simple as like jump starting someone's car like can have such a dramatic effect on someone's life,
Yeah.
especially when they're put in such a tough situation, like being on the street or living out of their car.
Oh, I can
And
imagine.
I decided that like if is this really, I was really reflecting. I'm like, is this really how we treat people who like
Yeah.
have nowhere else to go? Like that's awful. And like she had told me like plenty of people have like driven past. Like she had been there for like several hours at that point.
Wow.
when I actually came across her, and then with several more. And like I really just decided that I wanna try to like draw as much attention to like the issue of like you know being unhoused as possible, and try to really humanize people and show people that like
Yeah.
you don't need to treat people who are living on the street like they're less than dirt. Like you don't need to do
Yeah.
that. You can even if you like you can't physically help at the moment, like you can still smile, you can still say hi. Like they're not
Yeah.
they're not like
Treat them with
animals.
yeah, treat them with respect.
Exactly, like
Yeah.
bare
Yeah.
minimum you got to treat people with respect. And
Yeah.
we need to change how we look at things, because just because someone doesn't have like a net worth or a house, like that doesn't change the fact that they're a human being, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Like yeah, it's just it's common decency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, not to sorry, not
Yeah.
to stall the second thing you were going to mention, but so um with your story, it's like you had no fear of pulling over and helping somebody. I think a lot of people, I think, add me to the bucket, have that hesitancy to be proactive like that. Is that something that, for you in your experience that you've done before, or is that something that, you get to a part in your life where you're just like, people need the help. Like I've gone through enough stuff where that it's just a clear cut. I'm starting to like go full bore on that. What, like, did you, I guess it's like kind of one of those things again, where I'm coming from where maybe I'm not the first, like I'll give money, but then to
Mhm.
get out and stop my day and stop my time, like it really needs to be a situation where, like the right factors in my brain are getting clicked and I'm like, oh, I can get out there and do that. But so for your story, it seemed like you were, ride or die. I'm gonna get out there and then spend the 3 hours like, hey dude, like I'm still
Yeah,
here, she's still here. Like, so that's, yeah, I don't know if you could speak to that, but it seems pretty intense.
yeah, like you know it wasn't like 3 hours. I'm probably over
No, no,
exaggerating
no,
that,
it's
but like
fine. That's a
it,
detail.
it
That's a
was a long
detail.
time. It was a long time. It was at least
Yeah.
an hour, at
Yeah.
least two.
Long
Yeah.
enough
Like
to get you frustrated,
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like basically I've in my experience with like schooling, like I've had learning differences with like different. I won't say what, because I don't think anybody needs to know that.
Yeah.
But
That's fine. That's fine.
like you know I've needed to ask for help before, and I know what it's
Mhm.
like to not receive
Yeah.
that help. And it's like
Yeah.
it takes like 5 minutes. Like if my car happened to actually work, um, sorry car, you're great, but come on. um, like
Yeah.
it's like it doesn't take long. Like it doesn't take long to stop and say hi to somebody. It doesn't take long to take those like 2 seconds to like just pull over, jumpstart the car, say bye,
Yeah.
and then go. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
or at
People are
least like
great.
check.
Yeah. People are grateful for those little things, and driving is a resource, right, that people
Mhm.
need. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, after a while in my life, I had to get the jumper cables, and you have to humble yourself real quick
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
Walmart parking lot, and ask somebody for help, or
Oh yeah,
the one thing I always get, sorry, my cat's trying to jump in there,
all
trying to
good.
jump in the blockhouse, but like, yeah, the one thing I always hate is like when you run out of gas and you're like stuck somewhere and someone's got to help you push it. Like some people are hella cool and they'll help you, and then other times
Yeah.
you're just out there like you're world's strongest man trying to get this thing
Oh yeah,
across
yeah.
the intersection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happened to me
But
multiple times.
yeah, so that's cool, man. I mean, I love that, like kind of the jump off point for that. So how long would you say after that did you start like kind of the campaign? Well, we'll call it campaign, but really like, okay, I'm gonna get organized, I'm gonna start like doing the outreach. Because like from what I understand now, like you're working, whether it's yourself and what you're procuring for resources for folks, like like maybe tonight you went by yourself and you're doing handouts. And I think another thing you highlighted in previous interviews and stuff was that like you're a great communicator, so you're spending your time offering not only like tangible things but also conversations. and then whether you're working with other parties that are, maybe you're doing a collab on stuff. So how long after, say, that initial incident were you starting to go out and starting to be like, okay, this is going to be like my personal sort of mission, to get started?
So it took a little bit after that. Like I had started working, like that was really like that moment really stuck with me, and I had been, struggling it with a little bit. Cause I'm like, I want to do something, but like at the time I was like, I, was, like still finishing up school and stuff like that. But then once I got to summer and I was like I was working a summer job, and like, you know, I don't like I can, I have time now. It's summer. Like,
Right.
and like even like I'll say this, like even when I got back into school the next semester, the next year, like I was still able to have that time to do it. But it's just, I had the time to actually sit down and was like, huh, all right. So like probably like a couple weeks after that, a couple weeks after that initial incident, I was like, okay, I have this like stuff lying around. Why don't I use it? So I had, I decided to like, I went out one day and I was like, helping out. And then like I used to do like, costume and cosplay kind of stuff. I don't do it as much anymore with like the Comic Cons and all that, but like I had this, this costume lying around. I'm like, you know, I want people to actually pay attention to the issue. I want people to notice that there are people in need, and people will keep looking over it. Like because like I had went out a couple times without it. I'm like, this is like nobody is like, focusing on the issue. And also I don't want that attention because it's not about me.
Right.
I don't
Right.
want
Right.
to be like,
Yeah.
I don't need that. Like I know what I'm doing. And it's like, it's whatever. I'll, you know, try to figure something out. So I decided to use this and attract the attention to it and really, get people to focus on it. So it was only a couple weeks after that, because I just had to figure out what exactly I wanted to do. Because for most people, they probably would just like, volunteer or something like that, like, which is perfectly fine. And we need more people, but like,
Right.
I decided to go a little bit more unconventional with it.
Yeah.
Just say that.
Well, it seems to work. It's working, definitely. It's a success. Yeah.
Yeah, like the intent may not be, I mean, part of the intent, that's the is the good part, and then the I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I want to use the word brand, but that's not the point you're trying to make. It's more of a thing to break down the wall,
Yeah.
and it's like a very common thread, like you mentioned, whether you're a comic person or you're into, blockbuster movies. We all know who Batman is, right? It's very
Exactly.
American culture, and
Yeah.
that's the point. So on that note, like, do you find that it breaks down walls with the identity, or do you find like another? Because one thing I kind of, and I don't mean to like uh bring up some weird sort of tangent, but one thing I noticed, like, I think about Batman, like he was kicking ass. So you're kicking ass against the hunger, the lack of resources and stuff like that. But like, people are also going to think, hey, he's a crime fighter, right? Or he kind of vigilante. So do you ever get that part of it, or do you find like overall the reception is super cool because, obviously your heart's there and you're doing everything great? Like, do you ever get like sort of a, just based on the character itself?
I mean, like every like once in a while, I'll get someone who's like, like Spider-Man would have been a way better choice for what you're doing, right? I'm like, yeah, I know. But like,
Oh,
I really don't. I feel that it definitely helps with like, having that character, having that identity, because like it more so, it gives me conversation openers. Because like,
Yeah.
yeah.
you know, you,
Icebreaker.
you mentioned
Yeah.
you mentioned like you think I'm a great communicator. Honestly, thank you, but no, I'm definitely not the best communicator at all. But like, it really gives me that, it gives me that opener. It really like breaks. It's like an icebreaker, really.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
people may not feel like, comfortable like talking with me if like I was just some random dude, right? But then like Batman shows up, it's like, oh yeah, that's Batman. I know
Yeah.
that.
Right. I
That
know
dude. And then
him.
they
I know
ask
he's
like,
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, where's the Batmobile? Like, where's Robin? I'm like, haha, here's a funny joke relating to Batman. And then I can like, work in my conversation, build that relationship, and then eventually, actually, make some, changes and actually be able to communicate with people and like really, break down those walls. And also like it, it makes it more accessible. Like, I know you were saying like, you don't want to say like brand, but like, and like, I don't want to say that either because it's not, I'll probably get copyright stricken if that was the case. But like, it's more like trying to make it's making helping people look more like, I guess, just interesting. And it is very interesting. Like you meet some crazy people. Like I met like this one like dude who used to be like a mechanic for like the Hells Angels biker gang. That dude is so
Oh
cool.
wow.
Wow.
But yeah, like you meet some really cool people, but like a lot of people on the surface, they don't see that. They see, oh, I'm just gonna be, interacting with people, and it's like, it's all well and good, but it's not like, why is that worth my time? And it's like you meet some great people, and it's like I'm really just trying to, make it as accessible, as interesting, and as like, try to get people to focus on it as best as I can, whatever way that may be.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like if it's a neon sign that says do something, then that's what we want to do versus any other, backstory that somebody can run with. So we'll try to streamline a little bit, but so with your time out here now in the streets, we were chatting earlier, is the pandemic, like you mentioned, like folks that likely had jobs in the past, everyone has a different story, of course, but are you seeing like the pandemic is affecting the numbers of folks you're seeing and helping, or has it just, the problem is probably more in the news, or like, for the average person, we probably don't know, but you're out there. So like how are you trending wise? How are you seeing what's going on out there?
It's absolutely getting worse out here.
Yeah.
Like there are absolutely more people ending up out here. Like during like the height of the pandemic, it was really, really bad. Like there were so many people out
Yeah.
here. And like while the city at the time was doing an all right job at like getting people like maybe into hotels, like if they were out here, like or looks like they were older and out here,
Mhm.
like you'd see more and more people every day. And then like
Yeah.
once like the city does these things, and I'm not going to get too political because I know it can be a tense political issue, but they tend to do these encampment sweeps where they'll come through and they will remove people's property because of the location that they're staying in. And I have my own personal opinions on that. I think it's not the best idea, just because like, they're gonna lose that, that they're gonna lose their property. Sometimes they lose government documents. And then
Yeah.
like also like the city had like vaccination crews who were like, checking up on people, and like, street medics who were actually able to like take care of people, and then now they're gonna lose track of those people. But like, besides the point, it's definitely gotten a lot worse. Like I've seen way more children with
Yeah.
families out here, and that's just
Wow,
heartbreaking.
that's
That was
sad.
Yeah.
actually one of my second reasons to like what really reignited. Like for a while, I really felt like, what I was doing, you know, wasn't having quite as much of an impact as I wanted it to. And then I realized that it is, because I've been working with this one family in particular. I'm not going to name names again, but like they, you know, they really need the help. And like, you got kids out here, man. Like that's just
Yeah.
not cool. Like I
Yeah.
distinctly remember
A
when I met
lot
this
of
family.
families are out there. Yeah.
Yeah, like when I met this family, I distinctly remember it was, pretty late at night, over by wherever, over underneath an overpass, in like a pile of like, stuff that like was illegally dumped on top of them. They told me that like all of this stuff just appeared because like people just wanted to dump their used stuff, and they just put it on top of the encampment to
Really?
dispose of it,
Yikes.
which
Wow.
is a
Yeah.
whole nother horrible thing. And like the kids playing in a pile of like rusted metal and like used needles, and like
Mm.
then like I turned him and seen me. He's like, "Mom, it's Batman! It's Batman!" Like just that image, I don't think will ever leave my head.
Wow.
And like I just want to say that like that's why I do it, is because
Mm.
people need that.
Yeah.
They need that help. And
Yeah.
it's not just kids, it's just anybody. Everybody needs that help, because I've seen far too many people just, fall apart and lose that hope. And
Yeah.
it's just, and the pandemic has certainly not helped that. It's for a while now, it's felt like with the vaccines coming out, it feels a little bit more hopeful, but for a while, like, I think that was probably one of the, like, it's definitely been one of the darkest periods within, recent history, I feel.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
I don't feel like that's a controversial statement, but like, we just need to, like, we need to take care of each other, and we need to give each other hope. And like, a lot of people out here, they're right on the edge of that, point where they just can't keep going. And,
Yeah,
it's hard, and we just need to help because we can.
Right.
yeah,
At least that's
that's
my
huge.
opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, Batman, you're speaking of families and encampments right close to where I live, and I think you've been there and spoke on it. And they were talking about doing a sweep, but they haven't yet. Is I live close to between Taylor and Heading, right before the airport, and
Yeah.
there's a huge mass population now of people there with buses, campers. Some people have even made their own homes with wood. I know there's like a wood carver out there. It just seems like that's kind of a hotbed right now, that whole
Mhm.
zone between Taylor and Heading right there, if you want to speak on that area.
So I know several people over there. Like, because I want to say, because like, I feel that the resources, you know, aren't, as accessible and as numerous as they need to be in the city of San Jose. People have had to rely on each other to, get by. So they're creating
Yeah.
their own communities. They're organizing. Like, most encampments I visit have, like, they have like a governmental, like a small, like, governmental hierarchy. Like, they take care of each other, and they work together. And like, that spot is, there's lots of people who just, they work together. It's like a neighborhood. Like, I
Yeah,
consider
it
it like a
seems like it.
neighborhood.
Yeah, it definitely looks like a community. And some of these people look like they just fell on hard times. Like maybe they lost their home, because I even saw boats out there. So obviously these boats were probably at their home. They had nowhere to put their boat. So now their huge, nice boat is right there in that field, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's many people who, like, maybe like lost their house or lost a job, and like, they just, ended up out there. And that's like a very common way to how it happens. And you're right. Like, lots of those boats are out there because, like, people just, you don't want to leave that. Like,
Yeah.
it's a part of, like, you, like, who you are. Like, you don't want to lose that. And like, people, like, they just, when there's nowhere to go and there's no resources, like, people are going to end up, out on the
Yeah.
street. And like, it's just, it's so difficult with like the lack of resources. And like, you know even if like City Hall is like, again, getting a little political, but even if City Hall is trying to pass things, then you have like the districts who are like, not in my backyard. I don't like,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, we want to help, but like, we don't want to have to see it. And it's like, come on, guys, like, the
Yeah.
problem won't we won't be able to help anybody if, we keep thinking that, if we keep seeing it as like a problem. We should be seeing it as, we shouldn't be seeing the people as the problem. We should be seeing the situation that people are in as the problem,
Right.
Yeah.
and that those people need help, and that they need to be lifted out of this situation that they're in and helped, because we can help.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Like, right.
so
Sorry.
real
Just
quick,
let's go ahead, bro.
real quick, I got to ask this. So I know you don't have all the answers, but what are the key topics or issues that local government should really press and prioritize to help these people?
All right. So yeah, like, just gonna put a disclaimer. Like, obviously, I am not 100% expert. Like, I
Mhm.
have a lot of, firsthand experiences, and I've talked to a lot of people, like, on the street, what they think would be the best move. And, the most common things I've seen is like, they need a place to stay. Like, we cannot keep kicking people around with the encampment
Mhm.
sweeps, because really what that is, my allegory for it is like, you're pressing the reset button on somebody's life. Like, they lose
Yeah.
everything in those sweeps. And usually they're pretty brutal. Like, some people will lose like tents, they'll lose like all of their supplies. They'll lose government documents, like identifying documents. I know people have lost like birth certificates, and
Wow.
like that is so detrimental to people being able to, if they're trying to get back on their feet themselves, like that's just so like it's so destructive.
Mhm.
And like we can't keep, clearing people from locations. Like fair enough, if like you need to move somebody because it's a fire hazard, fair enough. But you cannot do that without like finding an alternative location, right? Like
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to me, because it's like, you know, if you want people to move, help them move. Don't destroy all their stuff and then leave. Like you gotta make sure that they have a safe place to go. And that
Yeah.
again goes back to like the not my backyard kind of mentality. That is not going to solve anything, because like you know you can complain all you want about like seeing encampments and stuff like that, but people need to live somewhere. Like they can't you
Yeah.
can't just magically make them disappear. Like they're people. They need somewhere to live. And like for me personally, it's just like treat people with dignity and respect. And dignity and respect starts with letting people have a place to live. Like treating them as a human being. And like for reference, like there's something with Boy Scouts. I was in the Boy Scouts of America, and like one of the things for like backpacking and camping is like you have the 10 essentials for like human survival. One of them is always shelter. And like
Yeah.
if you take that away from people, then that's preventing people from surviving. And it's just that's the one issue that I would say I would really be hard pressed to tell the city that they need to change that, because
Yeah.
at the moment the practice is clear people without a clear location of putting them. And I will say, from my personal experience, although they may say they have an alternative location, for the most part I know plenty of people who have not been brought to that alternative location, and it's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
And like and I know it's hard, I know it's not an easy solution, I know there's no like easy like there's nothing easy about it. But at the end of the day, we can't just keep doing the same thing we've been doing, because all it's done is made things worse, in my
Okay.
opinion.
So
Yeah.
so trying to quantify the types of folks that may be unfortunately in these situations. I in a scenario that we've been kind of talking about, there's the potential for folks that lost their home, from economic reasons. I'm sure there's a fair share of folks that may have mental illness. I know like there tends to be a lot of veterans as well that may just kind of coincide with one or the other. But one of the things I did see you speak on was like um in the instances where there are, and maybe this even goes to like social work with folks that just want to get back on their feet, but they really need a path to do that, and like you said, maybe the first thing is to get shelter and get the alternate location and to get their whatever they need to do to get a job in the next week or so. But in terms of, let's say, more on the mental health side, and I want to follow this up down the road with you, because obviously you're seeing a lot of I don't know. So maybe let me start there. What do you do to keep yourself in the right space? Because this is
Yeah.
heavy.
That's a good question. Yeah.
Everything you're seeing every day and all these stories you're hearing and you're putting on your heart and your mind, you must, I hope you're doing something super
It's got to get
fun.
emotional, right?
Yeah,
It's got to be
yeah.
an emotional heartbreak, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yep. Yeah, that's definitely something that I've experienced, is like the feeling of really being, just these people and these experiences, like even if they've passed away and they've gone, which is plenty of
Oh
people
yeah.
I know who have passed. Like
Mm.
I try to keep hope in the terms of like I'll talk with friends, I'll make sure I'm maintaining contact with other people, and like you know having other people to talk with. And I think
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest issues with like being on the street, is like you may not have that, and like you don't have other people to lean on. And like that's why with when it comes to like mental health services, I really think the city needs to invest more in that, as well as
Yeah.
like drug rehabilitation, because a lot of people when they get out on the street and they get to that point where they're so hopeless, they have nowhere else to go, they may be more likely to, get addicted to something because like they just want something to cope. And, you know, I don't blame a lot of people for doing that because it's hard. And I've seen so many people, just slowly fall apart from it. And like, we need to help people. We need to help those people because, like, you know,
we know where that
if
path
I,
goes. Yeah.
yeah, if I had gotten to one of those bad situations, I would hope that, like, my family and friends would be,
would pull you
able to
out of
help
it.
me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets hard though. Addiction's hard like that, but I agree with you 100%. Like I worked for over 10 years in the Tenderloin in San Francisco, and right out there is a open air drug market essentially
Oh yeah.
in the blocks up there. So you just see what it does to people. They don't they're not in a headspace to take care of themselves. So a lot of people walking around like clearly open wounds, and the outside becomes bathrooms, and and it's tolerated because who knows, like maybe the cops can't justify spending money on these you can't get rid of the drug dealers. Essentially they keep coming. And then the other part of that area is that there's a support structure in all the charities and other outreach programs that are in that area. So it's decimated. You see like kids walking to school in their uniforms, and they got to walk through this every day and every night, and people still survive. So I think it's interesting to hear about the San Jose, or other cities where this problem may not be a newer problem, but where it's growing, because there definitely are areas where it's already seems like it's the worst case scenario. And it's hopeful to me that enough people that, I mean, obviously there's the people that help, but hopefully the people that are on the inside and they're still new to this can, maybe there's something that can grow out of this, like the rose out of concrete to help, while it's fresh. Because once you get down to that path where you start to cope and you start to go down these rabbit holes, there's like not much, I feel like, society or pharmaceutical corporations and all, like nothing can solve that. That becomes a personal, like, are you down far enough where you can change? But hopefully we can change that beforehand, where there's still hope there. So kind of going back a little bit, just to the services. So we talked about services, the feed, and ideally, the government itself to so are there like, one of the things I kind of took away from one of your previous interviews was like the concept of maybe having like a third party. So maybe it's not the police, or maybe it's not the government, it's other sort of entities that may exist that can kind of break themselves of that bureaucracy, and they can come out and help. Are there things like that, like maybe in the mental health space, or maybe in, like, housing seems like hard, like every real estate is such a commodity that's
Yeah.
that's all super corporate. But how about like in that mental health space or other things like that? Are there like third parties out there that can kind of walk that line and not be so tied down to red tape?
I know that there are. I don't know many of them personally.
Okay.
But I know, like, for me, that's why I bring a lot of conversation, is to, help
Offer a
people
little
come
bit,
out of that. And like a lot of the other like organizations that I work with, they do the same thing where they're talking with people, they're working through issues with people, and like it's tough. And like I'm fortunate to have worked with, like, I picked a summer job at a location where I could actually pick up some information on how to, like, how to help people in difficult situations. Um, and Sorry, it's getting hot in this car.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's
You
all
got
good.
the
It's all
full,
good.
you got the full
Yeah, it's a
Batman
warm
on.
night. It's
Yeah,
a warm night.
do you have
here.
AC in your suit? Because that would be important on hot days.
Man, that's an innovation that I'm working on.
Oh,
Yeah, like, I know, like, for me personally, I spend a lot of time with conversation for that reason, because, like, while I know that those entities are out there, I feel that they're few and far between. I think we need more of that part of it, because, like, you can help physically, but mentally,
yeah.
we need more help there. We need more help. And like, that's why, I just want to raise as much awareness. I want to get as many qualified people out as possible to, make sure that we can get people some truly useful and, like,
Like
rewarding help.
counselors. Yeah, I think people need almost like counselors out there, right?
Mhm.
Just kind of
And there
almost like a
are,
life coach.
yeah,
Yeah.
there are counselors, but like I know like for the cities ones, like they're so short staffed that it's like case managers can be really, really like overworked, and like we just need more people in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I've heard that on probably other podcasts or shows where, a lot of social workers, their job is to do check-ins, but then after that, the
What
red
happens
tape
to
is
them? Yeah.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
too high to even like, separate. I mean, I don't want to say that there's some of other jobs are to separate
Yeah.
families or to check on families, but even in those scenarios where kids are involved, it's really difficult to do something until it's like drastically a problem. So like on this side, unless there's like a full huge housing complex you can move people into, what are they really going to do? So it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
like that. But I definitely know too that there are places out there where people can get jobs, and I'm not trying to say like that's the solution to anything, but that there are resources like that if if that's what you're looking for. But obviously if there's like bigger things, and I like the aspect of family. You could always turn
Yeah.
to people, like don't feel embarrassed to do that. I know, if I went down, I'd have to apologize to a lot of people, but then I'd be up on somebody's couch in 2 seconds. So, and I've done that with my friends in the past, like right out of college, being quasi, without a place, like people that, so I know there's some solutions out there. So,
Yeah.
I want to like for some aspect, just keep it short to respect,
Yeah.
Batman's time.
Real quick, Batman. I had a question and someone wanted me to ask. Do you find like a lot of the people that don't have housing that are homeless, are they local? Are they from San Jose? Or have they traveled here from somewhere?
That's something that I get asked quite often. You know,
Yeah.
the majority of people that I meet, they've lived here for quite a while, or they've lived in the Bay Area for quite a while.
Yeah.
I have met the odd person coming from a different state, but like
Yeah.
nobody's like making an exodus to San Jose because they think it's the holy land where
Yeah. Yeah.
they can get all of that help that they need. Like people just, they're around, like they travel because like if you got nowhere else to go, you're gonna move.
Yeah.
And like I feel that like I know the argument of like there's so many people coming from out of state, like why is it our responsibility to help them?
Right.
Yeah.
Like I understand that frustration, but at the same time, that is such a generalized thing to say that I feel like that's not, that's simplifying a very, very complicated situation because everybody's
Yeah.
situation is different. Nobody's coming here because they think that they can, dupe the system and get
Yeah.
housing. They're not trying
Yeah.
to trick anybody. They're just trying to survive. And I feel that, you know, maybe if like we can like collaborate with other cities and like, work together to try to solve this problem,
Yeah.
I feel like, maybe we could, work that out. Because I know a lot of people have the frustration of like, oh yeah, people come to San Jose to be homeless. Like I haven't seen that
Yeah.
personally. Nobody I've met wanted to be out here. You know, nobody wants to be out here. Like that's a
Yeah.
myth.
Yeah.
I can 100% confirm that.
Because to play devil's advocate, people might say, where the hell did all these people come from all of a sudden, right? Why are people living between Taylor and Heading? Like some people may think it's new, or all of a sudden now we have 10,000 homeless here. Where'd they come from? How'd this happen? Like the average person's probably thinking that, right?
Yeah,
Well, I think too, like
Yeah.
it's like safety, it's resources, it's having, like Batman said, like having an area that's not going to get turned over every day or every other
Yeah.
day. Like once you find something that's somewhat stable, that's going to be where you go to. Simple, just like again, that resources, but I would agree. Like, I mean, I'm in the Seattle area, and Seattle has its issues. Portland's got its issues. As I
yeah,
mentioned, San Francisco's got issues. Weather plays a part, I think, but nobody wants to be again somewhere where they got to struggle harder in a certain
Yeah.
conditions.
yeah,
We've been up to Vancouver. They have blocks, I don't remember the streets, but it's all the West Coast. I'm sure it's other parts of the nation, but it's everywhere. So it's where you're going to go. You're not going to be able to go to Palo Alto and be successful for very long. You're not
Yeah.
going to be able to go to Burlingame or Walnut Creek or Lafayette. You got to go to places where there's a bigger population and you can kind of be stable. I mean, at the end of the day, people want to be stable, though obviously the resources in these bigger places are stretched thin. Um, so just to kind
Yeah.
of maybe have a little humorous side, I'm all stressed out right now because this is a heavy topic, but I also
It
appreciate
is. It
that we're
is. It
talking about
is.
it.
Yeah.
But
I try to keep it as light as possible. I know it's a heavy
no, no,
topic.
no, 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 no.
Yeah.
This is needs to have all the attention that we can help provide to it. You already
Yeah.
do an amazing job at it yourself, and again, your heart is enviable by many of us. Like
Yeah.
for me, honestly, like for if there's like causes that I can support, I will. Like the most
Yeah.
mindless thing is like you go to the store and you can add some money on top of your purchase for something. I love those things just because they're so easy and it's just quick and whatever. But
Yeah.
it's still gonna take like a bigger effort for me to go do that. And I'm not trying to be too honest and be selfish. It's just, it's time. So I think a lot of people are in that shoes, but we need this motivation to get out there and do
Yeah.
something and to
Well,
do a
I
bigger
mean,
effort more often,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Not to sound too
Yeah.
cheesy too, but Batman, I can hear it in your voice, like your emotion, your voice. Like I think hopefully the viewers and the listeners can kind of feel the passion. You know what I mean?
I try not to
Yeah.
hide that too much because, like,
Yeah.
while Batman may be a very stoic character, I am not. I am very much not that. I try to be as
Yeah.
very direct and honest as I can because,
Yeah.
like, you know, I need people. I need people to know that, like, this is what the reality is, and that, like, you know, I'm not some impossible person like I mentioned earlier. Like, I'm still working towards that. I'm trying my best, but at the end of the day, we still need more hands, and like I don't want to hide
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're
That's great. That's great.
and not to call out your age, but my understanding is you're like a younger dude. So
Mhm.
I think that's really awesome. And you still have like a bright future, whatever path you're going down as well. So
Mhm.
this is like you're like I'm trying to think of someone who's done two sports or is a rapper and then
Like a
is
student
something
athlete.
else. Yeah, you're like
Wait a
Will
second, what's the
Smith.
date?
Yeah.
Do you happen to know the date?
Today
Yeah.
is that a real question?
Yeah, it's a legitimate
Oh,
question.
May 30th.
Yep.
I think it's my birthday today.
No
Is
way.
it really? Whoa.
Happy birthday. Oh shit.
Thank
This is
you.
this is a premiere right here.
Oh my
Batman's
god, are you
birthday.
serious?
I think so. I don't know how I managed to forget that, but
Wow.
here we are.
Wow.
I've been busy.
Well,
It's been a busy couple
Happy
weeks.
birthday. Oh
Yeah,
my
let's
God.
sing
Happy
it.
Thank you.
birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
There we go.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear Batman.
Batman. Hey, happy birthday to
to
you.
We gotta do what the kids do. We gotta start at are you one? Are you two? No, I'm just kidding.
I think
Yeah.
I'll be counting for a decent amount, not too long. I think that means I would have just turned 20. Interesting.
Wow.
Oh my god, dude. You
I
got
started when I was 18. Wow. That's
This
it's
guy's
3
so
years now.
this guy's so busy he forgot his own birthday. That's how busy
Yeah.
this guy is.
well, I have ice cream
Wow.
cake in the freezer. I'll
Dude,
I'll-
where are you at right now? I will drive over there right now.
yeah. I know. Well, I
Especially
wish
for
I
Oh,
was.
man.
like,
Hey, dude, I wish I was in San Jose. I would definitely have you over. We'd have some right now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so
Wow.
okay. Weird question. So since you're out in these places and you're seeing people and people are in their ingenuity's high, and as I think I maybe saw like you're kind of in that same mindset. We could see that obviously with your costume and all the details and the engineering that went into it. Are there any like hacks that you've seen out in the world, whether it's like a cool like food that somebody's come up with? I was watching a couple of TikToks and these meals they make in prison and stuff. But I mean, whether it's in prison or whether it's
Oh,
like in a
geez.
camp, is there
Oh,
any like
geez.
little hacks or even like, you see people are really into like with a bike, I see, and I know a lot of like folks have bikes and that's how they get around the city versus a car that requires gas and stuff. And maybe they're putting lights on it. So are there anything that's like kind of like is a cool thing about like the human existence that kind of like, adds a little spice to life, whether it's, something you see out there in the world?
like I've seen some people with some really, really like well constructed shelters. Like I know somebody who had like they had like Christmas lights throughout their entire thing. They had power. They had
Wow.
they didn't quite have running water. Oh, you know what? I can give a shout out to one other person. Daniel McLennan. He's on Instagram. He's an artist and an engineer. The dude's amazing. I met him underneath the 87 overpass. Literally, like, worked with a company to like build lasers. The dude, like, he does these amazing, like, you could probably, like, pull him up at some point. I'll try to send you the information, but like, he'll do like artwork with like Sharpies and then like
Wow.
whiteout of like these beautiful like Greek statues. Like,
Wow.
and the dude's
Wow.
on the street, like he's doing it on cardboard, like on a street corner, and he builds like these Tesla coils and all these super cool things, and like he's just on the street, and like he uses that to his advantage to try to better himself and make some money and like get by. Like he sells his artwork, and like he works so hard, and I believe he's up in San Francisco. I don't believe he's down in San Jose anymore, but like he's amazing. Like, honestly, one of the coolest people I've ever met down here. And like I think that like his ingenuity is just incredible. Like, it's insane. Like, I'd have to show you physical examples because I don't feel that my descriptions would do it justice.
Yeah. We'll have to find some photos and post them up right here.
Yeah,
during
for
the
sure.
podcast.
Yeah.
If you have
For
any
sure,
photos.
yeah.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I would. I mean, like you mentioned, the Harley, the guy that used to be a mechanic for the Hells Angels. I mean, I want to ask you, like, who's the funniest person you met? And that would be so hard to describe, but I'm sure like there's people out there that are just like mile a minute, like making people laugh, like still going about their day and doing, whatever it is they need to survive. But it's like stuff like that. Like, it's hard to quantify, but it's still like there's people out there that are, churning and burning out there.
Yeah. Like,
go ahead.
I think the funniest person I met, his name was Ruben. He recently passed away not too long ago, only a couple months ago, but the dude was the funniest guy I knew. He always had a smile on his face. He was like, he made people laugh. Like, he's just such a great dude, and it's such a shame that he passed, and like the way that he passed, it's just not right. But like, he was such like a funny, engaging dude. Like, the first time he saw me, he's like, "What the hell is that?" Like, I thought it was the funniest thing. And then like when I told him how old I was, because I guess that never crossed our minds in conversation. Like, he was like, "I don't believe you." So I literally had to show him like my driver's license to prove it. And he's like, "What the hell? What the fuck?"
He
Like,
thought you were
okay.
45.
Yeah, because like apparently like this, I guess it makes me look a lot older, which is understandable. Like plus
Yeah.
like the masks don't help either. I feel like I look a lot younger without it on. But like it's like he was just such a funny dude, and like by far one of the funniest people I've met.
R.I.P. Ruben. I like how he like
Yeah.
roasted you as soon as you saw you. He's like, "Hey."
Oh yeah, yeah, and I appreciated it. He actually gave me some pretty
Yeah.
good design tips. He liked the purple, by the way. He loved the purple.
So has it always
Nice.
been purple, or did you change it up? Because I think I saw another one where you kind of had more of a gray, or you know, the what do you call the graphite kind of look to it, or
I've done a couple different things. I used to like do like different colors for like just as like, you know, this is one of the things that I use to like, you know, keep up hope, like maintain, you know, mental state and all that. Like this, like working on this thing really, you know, helps me with that.
yeah,
So like I'll change the colors every so often. So like I'll do black sometimes, like usually in the winter. And then the summer I'll try to do like purple or something like that because it also keeps the heat off of me.
oh yeah,
I thought about doing like bright red at one point, or like a crimson red. I thought that might be cool. Like I switch it up every once in a while. I did blue for a while, but that just looked kind of goofy. I didn't like the way it looked. I think purple's perfect because like just from like a design standpoint, it's like bright enough that it looks more approachable and friendly during the day.
Yeah.
Compared to black, but then also at night it looks a lot darker. So if I need to move around without drawing too much attention to myself, I can do that as well. And that's pretty useful. So like it's really interesting how much color and stuff like that plays a role in it. And like, you know, it's evolved quite a bit. But
that's cool.
it's interesting.
Yeah. A
And
lot
then,
of thought goes into this. A lot of thought. Yeah.
how much does a suit weigh?
It depends on like without the utility belt that has like I have like a first aid kit, I have supplies to like help fix bikes and shelters as well in that thing. As well as like different like I have like multi-tools and stuff like that to help like just repair stuff or like make stuff if I need. That's probably the heaviest component. I'd say that I want to say like the gear without the belt is probably like 10 pounds, but like the thing is like it's strapped. Like the weight distribution is gotten to the point where like I don't feel the weight because like my body's able to carry it in different spots. And then like the belt is perfect because it all centralizes all the weight around the waist. I've actually gone backpacking with just a utility belt. It was great. I love it.
You're like, I'm going to use it more than once. That's for sure. That's cool. And then I assume you have like Bluetooth headphones on, or no?
Oh, I wish. But like, you know, I actually had tried that at one point. Like I was at like a Goodwill, like picking up some blankets, just cause like I was running short on funds at the time. And like, I found these like Bluetooth headphones with like, you know, linking to the phone capability. I'm like, don't even think about it. They were $1. I had to.
Yeah.
So I had like taken them apart. I had started fitting them to the helmet and I almost got them to fit. The only issue is that just the quality of the headphones just wasn't great in general. So like, you know, the connection broke super easily and like the you know, the helmet itself had to be designed around them. And like I designed so many helmets. It's too many. And at that point, like it just wasn't something that was a priority. So I kind of had to abandon that. But it was
maybe we can help you find a pair. Maybe we can work on that, Marcos. Yeah,
that's right. I know. I don't have any, but sure, I'll help you find some. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
my daughter has some. She gets all the high end stuff. I get like the old school. This thing, yeah.
I like wired headphones. So when I'm outside of this, like I wear wired headphones. I prefer them so much more than to like.
Oh yeah,
I can't understand the concept of AirPods because I would lose those so quickly.
Yeah,
like, and that's like what is it like $300 like right down the drain?
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
and like if you lose the one that like has like the audio connection, like you can like I think there's one like you can swipe back and forth for, like changing songs and stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm losing my mind, but like. That's so unfortunate. Like, what are you supposed to do at that point?
Yeah.
Speaking of my daughter, she wanted me to give a shout out to your car because she calls my So what do you call your car?
It varies depending on how frustrating it is, but I like to call it the Jankmobile because like I love my car. And I'm very fortunate that my parents were in the financial position to allow me to have a car, and I didn't have to work to purchase a car, and I'm very thankful for that.
Right.
So I don't want to discredit that, but
That's cool.
you gotta
So
love Toyota. Like Toyota,
Yeah.
they will take a beating, but like they refuse to die. They
Yeah.
absolutely refuse to die. So
They'll
like
go forever. Yeah.
yeah, like just like one day, like I had opened up the door handle to like the front door of my car, and like the handle had physically came out into my hand. Like I literally just lifted it up and I pulled it and it came out in my hand. So I had to like, I
Sounds
grabbed
like a
screwdriver
Batman
and bend the
situation.
handle up.
yeah.
Like I swear to God, someone thought I was breaking into a car, and I had to explain it. Like
That's
no, I have the keys.
Yeah.
But
Believe it
like
or not, I own this car. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So like that happened. The trunk used to not like lock completely, so I had to replace the lock. I replaced all the parts myself because I didn't want to pay for the actual the fee to do it because it was like $300 to like replace the door handle. I'm like, I'll just take the thing apart myself. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then like I think the most recent thing is my dad's gonna hate me for this if this like if he hears this, but like he recently took it out and he clipped the right hand mirror and it broke. I managed to fix it, but he didn't tell anybody for a couple of days. And then when my brother went to go drive the car, he was like, "Dad, what the hell?" So that that was interesting. So I managed to fix that. I still need to do a couple more things to get it so that I can still like properly adjust it because I've managed to manually set it so I can like use it. But I have to fix like the wiring I think a little bit. But other than that, it works. But yeah, I just love
There you go.
just love how janky it is and like
Yeah.
The
easy to fix
Jankmobile.
too.
I know so my car, I have two buckets. So one of them it's called Jank the Tank. And then I have like a truck that's got two like it's got Ford F-250 that's got two gas tanks. So that one's called Double Tank Jank. But like my brother's like definitely like a motivator and shitting on my car. But I have a mirror. I'll post some pictures in the after, but like yeah, my wife hit the mirror on the passenger side. And then I was too cheap one time. The gas pump went out. And so I paid some guy to show up at my house, and he did everything to install the new one, but he didn't finish it so that the gas gauge actually works. So I got a system where the tripometer every like 250 miles, like fill up the tank.
You just
so
reset it. You just reset it. Huh?
Yeah. No, it's a hack. It's a life hack for all you
Oh
guys
my
out there.
God.
There's actually one more. So there's like in the model of the car, there's like it's like the security where the key won't turn all the way unless like the fuse and all this crap. Well, it busted, so now I have this like rocker switch in my the fuse coming off the fuse box where I got to hit it. I shouldn't tell everybody my secret. Someone's gonna steal it now. But you got to hit this extra switch just to start the damn thing. So anyways, I hear you on that. I got you on that. So anyway, let's wrap this up. So I want to say thank you, Batman, for your time and you sharing your stories, and
especially on his birthday. It's
his birthday. God,
oh my goodness.
Shit, somebody, yeah, we got to figure out how to get you some cake. Birthday. But
I just got a text from my mom.
There you go.
You gotta go home.
They were waiting on it because I guess they realized I forgot to. So
I'm sorry, man.
I guess they're waiting on it at home, so that'll be nice. But
yeah,
one more question. Sorry, not to cut you off. One more question. So can people donate to you or to like a fund that sort of like is helping your you're stocking your resources and stuff like that?
Mm-hmm. I have a Venmo and a Patreon. I use those because I want to make sure I'm very accountable with funds because I know that's something with like nonprofits. Sometimes you hear about it all the time. Yeah. I'm very, very particular about it. I think the only thing that I've spent money on that I wasn't 100% sure on was
Bitcoin.
I wore my old pair of boots down to the point where it was like, there was like holes in the bottom of them.
Oh man.
So I split it 50-50 on like a pair of like $100 boots that I'm wearing now, and they're a lot better. Because I didn't play it cheap, and like I only use like I only use like $50 of that money, but like because I just needed new boots. Like I could not use those anymore. And like the Venmo and the Patreon, I can send you those links. Just like I heard you were putting up images as well. If,
Yeah.
like, you want to
Yeah,
put those
yeah.
up right then,
Yeah,
and
please.
And there's a link in your bio, correct, on your Instagram. I saw a link. So is that what you're talking about on your Instagram?
I think that's to a different like GoFundMe.
okay.
I have a post like further down in like in the feed that has that information in there. I'll just send it to you guys. So you guys
Yeah, we'll put it
up.
up. We'll definitely put it up. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Hey, Batman. Well, thank you very much again. Happy birthday. 20th is not quite the worst birthday. When you get to be my age, they're all terrible. So you're still ramping up. The incline.
Yeah.
It just caught me off guard, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you got to celebrate it with. I mean, we're not celebrating with you, but you know what I mean. I'm glad you get to share it with us, at least for this hour or so. So, all right. Well, have a good one, and thank you so much. And
thank you for coming on. Thank you.
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah.
Easily I approach the fifth of him because I ain't no joke.